Okay, cool. So we're live. It's been about a week since I uploaded the last video. So, and since I haven't had time, I thought I'd just get on live and talk about some stuff yeah, because, I don't know, you're supposed to keep regular with videos and all that. But I didn't know if I would have time today, so I didn't warn anyone I was going to do this. So I'm sorry, again for unplanned live stream. But yeah, no, if one of my super fans, if you're watching this in the replay, hello, if one of my super fans can maybe go through this video and do the like bookmarks thing again and put it in the comments so that anyone else coming late can be like, what did she talk about in this one? And, skip to whatever bits. That would be really helpful. Thanks so much, guys. Yeah, okay. So, I mean, going live is just easier than me trying to film a video and then edit it and then, put it online. It just take too long. But, so the main thing stopping me from doing videos the past week, I think the biggest thing is the school holidays. In New South Wales, it's the school holidays, which means my brother, who's a teacher, I've got two brothers. My brother, who's a teacher, is on school holidays, and so he's home a lot, which means I don't have as much space to do filming. Yeah, I kind of need the house to be empty to film, but he's gone to the gym, and so far there's no one home yet, so I can just have a ramble live and hopefully not make too much of a fool of myself. I don't know when I'm going to have to stop this live stream though, so yeah, as usual, if it cuts out or I just disappear, probably because people coming home. But yeah, so school holidays is this week and then next week, so I think it's going to be hard for me to get many videos out in that time. But another thing is this week, I've been working on my next punk rave video, which I'm hoping will come out tomorrow, but I don't know with like Easter. I haven't quite finished it. So I filmed it on Friday, and then, the weekend, I was just so sort of drained from doing so many videos last week. I just needed some time off. So Monday I started editing, and like I get a little bit distracted, so I start editing and then I need a break and then I come back and then I need another break. So I was editing Monday and Tuesday most of the day. Yesterday I had work at Bonsai, so I was doing that, and it's quite physical. Like, I'm standing up most of the time. I mean, there is a chair, but it's just easier if I stand up so I can trim the bonsai. Repotting and pruning and wiring and all that kind of stuff. And then carrying the things. And because I'm small and unfit, it's quite physically draining for me. So yeah, and then I have to have a shower afterwards because it's, you literally get dirt all over you. Just from, working with so much soil. And then, yeah, so I didn't get anything done yesterday afternoon. And then today, the day after working at the bonsai place, I always need to recover because I think, like, I'm just so out of the loop with, like, regular work and also that kind of physical work that I just get really tired. So it took me a while to drag my butt out of bed today. And then my brother made me some breakfast, bacon and eggs, gave me more bacon and more eggs than I was expecting, but I managed to eat it all. And then yeah, not long after that I had to go back to bed and have a nap and didn't re-emerge until about 1:15. So I've been out of bed maybe about an hour and a half again. So it's just been like, yeah, one of those sort of busy weeks, and that's why I haven't been able to film anything. Yes, so school holidays, working on the punk rave thing. Now that I'm sort of getting more awake, and like I think if I talk to the camera for a bit, that might wake me up a bit. So I need to do some more work on the punk rave video this afternoon, and then there are some extra things I wanted to do with that, and I've also got to do some Photoshoppy type stuff. Geez, I don't know if I'm going to get it uploaded tonight. And then, once I upload those videos, usually it takes them about 24 hours to get it onto their channel, and then I can put it on my channel. But yeah, they're like, so I don't know if I'm going to get it up online tonight, which means it might be tomorrow, and as far as I can work out, Punk Rave Australia is based in Queensland, and I'm pretty sure Queensland holidays are the same as ours, but I don't know for sure. But if they do have a holiday tomorrow, being Good Friday, so there might not be anyone in the office to review my video and get it online. So I don't know. Would it go up on Saturday? Do they have someone working on Saturday? I'm not entirely sure. I mean, anytime I send through a message, they're pretty good at replying. But yeah, so worst case scenario, it might go up on Tuesday. So that's a long time for me to not have a video up. And, so tomorrow, obviously, with public holiday, most of the family will be home, I think. Saturday is a weekend, so her family's going to be home. Sunday and Monday also holidays. So yeah, I'm not going to get any videos done in that time. I may be able to like live stream later at night, because what time is it now? It's almost 3 p.m. here in Sydney. And I know this is like a terrible time for most of my regular viewers, at least, to be able to watch me. So yeah, maybe we can organize a later time one day, but it depends a little bit on like what family's doing. Another thing is I've been trying to work on my sleep pattern a bit better. So I just like, if you've been watching me for a while, every now and then I talk about my sleep, and I tend to be a very late night sleeping person, and it's not great because my family are morning people. So what Mikey, who's my disabled brother, he wakes up like 5 a.m. every day, and depending on his mood, can make quite a lot of noise, which wakes me up. And the family is getting better at trying to keep things quiet for me in the morning, but it's it's difficult. So wow, someone's watching. Hello. But yeah, so with my sleep, what I've been trying to do is, as usual, I still have my phone set to have an alarm go off at 9:30 p.m. and then at 10:30 p.m. And I set that up back when I was on circadian, which was the melatonin hormone thing. And yeah, I've kept that on my phone as an alarm, but it doesn't always work. So just because like I will work past it, I'm like, oh yeah, the alarm's gone off, and then I just ignore it, and I will still be up at like midnight and not getting to bed until 1. If I don't go to bed before 1, though, I feel really awful. It's just that I tend to be more productive in the evenings, so it can be hard to just stop. But now what I've been trying to do, because one of my goals is to read a book every season, and last month I didn't read anything really. So I've started on my Jedi book, which I think I mentioned in that video, the video about that Star Wars exhibition that's on at the Powerhouse Museum. It was probably a couple weeks ago, I don't remember exactly. But yeah, I finally started on the Jedi book, and what I've been trying to do is at 9:30 I will get off the computer and just start reading. With variable success. Last night that didn't happen because I think after work, when I have had work, I sort of go into a bit of a zombie mode, and it just took me a while to disconnect. Oh, hello. Hello, do you know any other languages? I know a little bit of Japanese, but not a whole lot. Like enough to get me by in Japan at a basic level, but yeah, having Google Translate really helped when I went to Japan. More than a year ago, I stayed there for a month, so yeah, 少しだけ日本語を話します。少し I don't know. And then I know pieces of other languages, but mostly what I try to learn when I learn a language is just to say I don't know how to speak this language, or I don't understand. I don't know if my pronunciation of any of them is good though. So, like non parlo Italiano. What was the French one? It's been a while because, I just haven't been that excited by that kind of thing. Yeah, anyway, I actually haven't been paying attention to the messages thing. I'm sorry, I don't know how to pronounce your name, so maybe I just won't attempt it because I will embarrass myself. Yeah, can I just call you like J.E.? Because that's easier for me. I don't know, I feel like I will just, because like, there are some names, I'm sorry to get off track for anyone coming late who are interested in my sleep problems, but yeah, there are some names like that I just didn't realize I'd been mispronouncing for ages, for like years, and so I feel a bit silly now, and now I'm like, maybe I shouldn't try and attempt names that I might get wrong. So your real name is... See, the J is what puts me off in that as well, because I know in some languages you don't really pronounce the J in the same way that you do with English. So hang on, I'll bring that back up. Oops. So if it was English, Alejandro, but that I'm pretty sure it's like Alejandro or something. I'm not great with different languages, but I sort of have this subconscious thing like, I'm pretty sure that's not how you would say it for real. That's just you being too into English. Oh, I shouldn't have Facebook open, should I? Because I get distracted by people saying stuff on that. Yeah. Yes, did I pronounce it right in the second one? Alejandro? I'm hoping I pronounced it right. There's a little bit delay in the chat all the time, but hey, and I'm also going to change it, the settings, so it make sure it shows everything. Yay! Yeah, oh, is it more with an H sound, Alejandro? I don't know. Close enough, I think, so awesome. But yeah, no, what was I saying before about my sleep pattern? Because yeah, I've been trying really hard to work on my sleep. So yeah, 9:30, I get off the computer, start reading Star Wars stuff, which, like, it's a cute little book. Maybe I'll do a review when I finish it. I was going to do a review of The Art of War by, what's his name? You know, the Chinese dude. But I was a little bit distracted while reading it because it was a little bit like, yeah, okay, whatever. So I feel like I need to reread it just to make sure I'm giving a proper review, because I think just having not read in a while, I was a bit out of it. But no, the Star Wars one is pretty interesting. The way they put it together is kind of cute. So I might do a review of that at some stage. But yeah, and then so I'll be reading that, you know, over on my bed with the lamp on, and then at 10:30 my phone goes off again, and then I'm like, okay, I go to bed. So I go and brush my teeth, go and do my stretches, go and do some tricks with Hopi, and then come back and sleep. And so for 3 days in a row now, I've managed to get to bed before 11 p.m., which is pretty good for me. But I still tend to wake up at around 5 just automatically. Today was a bit better, I think, just because I was so tired from working yesterday. But yeah, no, I think I'm gradually getting better with the sleep thing. Because see, if I go to bed, if I'm in bed by 11 and then wake up at 5, that's still 6 hours of sleep. Whereas if I was going to bed at 1 a.m. and still waking up at 5 because of noise, that's only 4. So if I gradually do this, get into this habit of 9:30, turn off the computer, go read a book, 10:30, put the book down and go to bed, like do my final night routine, bed by 11, I think that'll be, that'll help me, you know, if I can really get into that. And I want to sort of gradually bring it earlier, just so I fit more in with the sleep cycle of the family. So yeah, I think the one problem that remains, as I've mentioned in my previous videos about like circadian and whatever, I do feel like my brain functions better at night. So I worry a bit. I think it's probably a good time for me to try and do this because I'm not at uni at the moment. When I was at uni, you know, you have deadlines to get all this stuff done. So you do kind of like, you have to work when you're able to work. So for me, that was late at night. So I just power through, because if I didn't and waited till morning, I wouldn't be able to function. So yeah, but whereas now, because I'm not at uni, I think I was trying to push myself to keep working at night, like particularly with the punk rave videos, which I've been working on again this week. I was sort of pushing myself to keep working late as if it was like a uni assignment, but punk rave doesn't really give me any hard deadlines. It's just like, you know, I do it once or twice a month. They haven't said, oh, you need to get this to us in a week's time or anything. They haven't given me any of that kind of deadline. And so I think just me being me, I was pushing myself a little bit too much to do that work later at night when I'm functioning better. But I've sort of realized, hey, I don't actually have to do that. So I've been working during the day on it. And then at 9:30, I stop and do the reading. So yeah, I think now if I'm going to readjust my sleep cycle to fit regular life, I think now is probably the time to work on it when I don't have those super hard deadlines like I did at uni. So yeah. So I've covered, well, school holidays being the reason I can't make videos at the moment, really. It's a bit difficult. Oh, well, also with the punk rave thing, right? So I'm doing all this punk rave editing. Um, if I then, like, in the middle of that, go and film a video, then I have to put it through my editing program anyway. And, like, I'm already editing a video, so it's a bit like, you know, do I interrupt my punk rave editing to edit another video? Or do I wait until after I've done the punk rave to edit the next video? It's too much dilemma. So yeah, that's another reason I'm just like, you know what, let's just go live, because I can, like, I mean, most of my videos are just off the top of my head anyway. So here we are off the top of my head, but it is uploading like now in real time, which means I won't have to go back and run it through my editor. Um, one of the reasons I run everything through the editor is because my phone makes these huge MP4 files, whereas if I convert it to a Windows Media video file, it's a smaller file size, and it's also only 25 frames instead of 30, so I can get the file size down low, and then send it up to the internet faster than if I was trying to send the full HD thing up, like the full raw footage up onto the internet. That would just, like, it takes too long. We've just had our internet speed increased, though. Was that another comment? My favorite bands. Oh my god, my favorite bands. That's always a really difficult question. Just because, like, I don't have loyalty to any particular band. Because, you know, album to album, you don't know if they're gonna have an artistic change or whatever. And also, like, within the albums, I might like one song but absolutely hate the rest, which, you know, has been the case for me with a lot of bands, especially like when I was younger and just hearing something on the radio, and then you go and check out the CD and be like, oh, the rest of the CD is pretty average, hey. But yeah, no, so I feel like at some point I'm going to have to make like a Spotify playlist or something. So when people ask me, what's your favorite bands? I just send them this playlist with some of my favorite songs. And that would help, especially with the whole looking for a band thing. Because yeah, people keep saying, you know, what bands are you into? And I'm like, well, this band, but not these songs, or this album from this band, and it gets complicated. And then there are just so many bands, but so, like, for an example, early Disturbed. I like early Disturbed. Maybe the first, oh, let me look up. Da 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 da, Disturbed, where are you in my thing? So, oh, it's not arranged by year. That's the problem with this. Well, so I like The Sickness, Believe was okay. Not maybe my favorite one, but I like that all right. 10,000 Fists and Indestructible. So maybe the first four Disturbed CDs I was into. And then they came out with Asylum, and I was just like, what is this garbage? Most, like, especially when they released Another Way to Die as their single, I was just like, no, I can't get into this, because and we were listening to this yesterday at Bonsai. That's one of the things that's really awesome about my bonsai work, is because we're working out the back away from like customers and whatever, we can listen to whatever music, and we're both metalheads. So we were listening to some Disturbed and Lamb of God and stuff. I actually haven't listened to that much Lamb of God, so that was cool. Like, I've heard some of their songs. I really like 541, but I think that's the name of the song. But yeah, I haven't listened to a whole lot of the rest of their stuff. But yeah, while we're listening to that, obviously Spotify gives you all these random songs, and they played Another Way to Die, and it's been a while since I listened to it, but I still have the same reaction. It's basically like they took all their old songs and tried to smush them together, and it's just like it falls flat for me. It doesn't work, and they're trying too hard to be, you know, like socially conscious or something, and I'm like, well, when Disturbed started out, it was mindlessly aggressive, and like that was just a lot of fun. But then they try and, I don't know, it feels like they're thinking too much, and they're trying to be a little bit too smart. But hey, I don't know. I didn't like the Asylum album, and I think they've got a new one out now, and I heard maybe the first song off it, but it wasn't really my thing, so I haven't listened to the rest of it. So that's why I wouldn't say that one of my favorite bands is Disturbed, because I only like their first four albums, and then after that I'm a bit like, yeah, nah, not really. I do like one song off Asylum, The Animal, but only for the verse. The chorus is a bit weak to me, so yeah, no. So I like some Disturbed. What else is on my list of stuff? I can go through my artists if you want. There's a lot of local bands that I was following quite closely. I probably was following local bands more closely than the big bands for a while. So, a lot of them have stopped now. Oh, a whole bunch of stuff just came up. Sorry guys, I didn't see that. How about fave all-time album? Do you like Slipknot? Is metal the only genre you like? Okay, favorite album of all time is another one I can't do because I don't know that I have one. I can give you like my favorite album for different artists maybe. So like for Disturbed, my favorite album would be The Sickness. For like Nine Inch Nails, my favorite album would be Year Zero. I think that answers your other question. Is metal the only genre you like? I also like industrial. By the way, hi, me, Anthony. So, yeah, no, I like metal and industrial, but I also listen to some other stuff occasionally. Like, I don't mind the old Pokemon songs every now and then, just because nostalgia, being a kid. I will still sing along to things like the Spice Girls if I'm in the mood. Oh my God. Growing up a long time ago, hey. What was the other question? Do I like Slipknot? Slipknot's okay. I don't mind some of their songs. There used to be the Venom nightclub in Sydney, and they would occasionally play one from that. And yeah, occasionally one comes on, and you're like, yeah, all right. But Slipknot's not a band that I would just listen to generally. Although I will say one of the reasons I don't listen to some of these bands is for a long time I tried to only buy CDs. So my music tastes are kind of limited by how much Oh, you don't have to say hi. That's cool. Like, when you pop up, that's kind of like a hello, I'm here, because sometimes people are watching and they don't leave any comments, so I don't ever know that they're there. If you just say something, then I'm like, oh, hi, there's another person. But yeah, no, hi. What was I saying? My music collection limited by how much money I could spend on CDs. But of course, when I stopped working in the middle of 2016, I got really badly depressed and was going through some medical, like, they're giving me meds and so on. I've got some videos. There's a video I've got like, are meds worth it? There's another video which where I talk about melancholic depression and dysthymia, I think. Around that time when I was making those videos, they were giving me a lot of medications and I was reacting pretty badly. It turns out I'm too sensitive. But anyway, because of the side effects I was experiencing, I had to stop working completely. And, I was just in a really bad headspace. So when I stopped working, obviously no money for spending on CDs. And it took me a while to sort of, figure that out. So if I couldn't find a CD, and like say there are a couple of like smaller local bands or just small bands in general who don't do CDs, so some of those I bought online through like Bandcamp. I like Bandcamp because I feel like they're more supportive of artists. I resisted Spotify for a long time just because I don't like the way that they pay artists, although I have recently realized that they might be okay in terms of discovery as like a promotional tool. So if small bands are relying on Spotify to promote their work, maybe I should be on there. So I finally did get Spotify, and there's that release radar where they show you some new stuff, and so there's this odd band called, I think they're called Dirty Shirt or something. They're really interesting. If you want some interesting music, look up Dirty Shirt. Wow, when that came on, like, the rest of the playlist had just been like mostly standard metal, like they would fit well into different genres, and then Dirty Shirt comes in and I'm just like, wow. Are there other questions? I don't even know what question I was just responding to because I think I went on a tangent. Oh, the Slipknot thing. Okay. Yeah, so no money equals no chance to really get into Slipknot. Probably like when I was buying CDs, I would have listened to a bit of it and been like, yeah, don't know that I want to spend money on that though. So especially when I was younger though, I was probably a bit more narrow in like what I would listen to. although going through the depression, I found it really hard to enjoy any music for a while. Yeah, that was frustrating. So, yeah, I'm sort of coming back into it, but I'd really like to find a band to play in. I feel like that would help me get more into the music. At the moment, I'm just so frustrated that oh dear, I'm not good at taking compliments. You know, actually, I think I wrote about this in my blog on my website. It was the blog about I got my art in the local art gallery again, and I went dressed up in a kimono, my punk rave kimono. That's the one that I did the review about last month, and yeah, taking compliments. I've I sort of realize I do this, but it's the first time anyone pointed out to me that I actually put on the Japanese mannerisms without even thinking when I take a compliment. So in real life anyway, I'm sitting down right now, but you know, the sort of bowing, like, oh, thank you, like, oh my God, you know, kind of thing. It's just like, yeah, I've always kind of sucked at taking compliments. You know, like when I was in school and I did really well on exams, I used to be really good at maths. So, yeah, there are a couple of times I got a 100% mark on, like in year 7 and year 8 on maths tests. And then people get all excited, and I never knew how to deal with that. Yeah, so at one point I would hide under the desk, which I can't remember if that was a joke or if I was genuinely like, I don't know how to deal with these compliments kind of thing. But yeah, random thing about me there. Um, mm. And then when I come off stage after a gig, because a lot of like people don't expect someone my size and gender to growl the way that I do. So when I come off stage, I've got a lot of questions about like, how do you growl? Does it hurt? Blah 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 blah. You did really well and all that. And like taking the compliments, I think when I come off stage, I tend to do the Japanese sort of bowing and like, oh, thank you, blah 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 kind of thing. And yeah, I did that at this art thing as well. And but because I was wearing a kimono, I think it made it even more obvious that I'm half Japanese, or at least like gave me more of a Japanese vibe. Yeah, so, and then one of the guys who'd been, you know, complimenting me on my outfit and went off to have a look at my artwork and all that came back, and he's like, oh, so Japanese. And I'm like, oh, I'm doing that thing again. And actually, when I was at uni doing my master's, what's this? What's all these questions? Okay, let me finish my thought. What was my thought? Oh, that's the problem with being live is like I lose track of what's going on a little bit. No, okay, let me finish my thought about me being a little Japanese without realizing it, because having grown up in Australia and also looking white, I tend to not see myself as Japanese all the time, but then every now and then some part of my upbringing, because mum's Japanese and brought all that into the household, every now and then something comes up and I'm like, oh shit, yeah, I am Japanese. I mean, like, you know, starting this video wearing my hanten. I've had hanten for as long as I can remember, but last year I was still at uni doing my master's for art, and yeah, one of my Japanese friends there, he was like, you know, you're like the only English speaking person who goes eh, like, and that's a really Japanese thing, and I had no idea that saying eh was Japanese. Like, that's sort of like, huh? But instead of saying huh, I go eh, 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 and I just didn't know that that was another Japanese thing I did. So yeah, let me check all these questions. Okay, let me just scroll up. So that was the compliments thing. Do I play instruments? Okay, so my main instrument at the moment is vocals, so I sing and I growl, and I'm trying to work on the fry screaming thing, but it sounds pretty pathetic at the moment. I also, when I was very young, did violin, and so in my last band, Rainbow Death Ray, I played violin, and actually I played violin in my band before that, Wintergaunt. Yeah, but I haven't done a whole lot of that lately. When I got depressed, I kind of just stopped playing violin. I stopped doing just about everything, really. But so my violin at the moment, it's a 5-string electric violin, which means you can play viola on it as well. I played a bit of viola like acoustically in high school as well. I'm not great at it though, and I tend to run it through effects pedal because, you know, a little bit of extra novelty, you get some weird sounds, and maybe it distracts from the fact that you don't play very well. I mean, I can play, I'm maybe an intermediate in terms of violin, viola, but I haven't played it in a while. So that's probably my next best instrument. I also have 2 guitars, bass, electric drum kit, cello. I've still got at least 1 acoustic violin and a viola somewhere over there. I can sort of play the spoons. I've got, what do you call this thing? A tambourine? It's a bit... And then I've got zills. So like I own a lot of instruments, but that doesn't mean I can play them. So yeah, but for me, singing I prefer the most because I can feel it, and I've never been great at expressing emotion. So for me, singing is like a catharsis, and then also it's just fun to mess with people when you're like doing la 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 la, and then suddenly switch into the growl, and they're like, "What the fuck was that?" So yeah, singing's fun to mess with people, and it's just my favorite instrument is my own voice, and I talk a lot, so I guess maybe that's me being a narcissist. I don't know. Oh well, but the question's still there. Oh, the question. So, your question was why are you so beautiful? But see, like I'm really bad at knowing what beauty is, so I presumably, I mean, what I know scientifically about beauty is well, I mean, me being female, for one thing, means that guys in general are just gonna see me a little bit nicer in that sort of a sense. Also, if my face is symmetrical, that might help, but I'm not sure. I know, like, you know, for example, my right foot is slightly bigger than my left foot, so I know I'm not perfectly symmetrical, so I don't know, but if there's enough symmetry in my face, maybe that's what gives some of that vibe. Also, I think I have, like, what do they call them, like, cheekbones or something? I think everyone, like, I mean, that technically we all have cheekbones, because, like, that feels like a bone to me, but I think it's, like, the look, I don't know, the lighting's not great, hang on. I don't know. People try and do like I've tried watching some beauty tutorials a while back because someone wanted me to do some modeling, and so I was like I should maybe look up some makeup type stuff, but it's just like the amount of makeup people do so like freaks me out. I'm just like, oh my god. And but the way that they try and make it look more natural, I think you can see like it sort of shades here, and they try to intentionally shade that like that bit to give some illusion of, but I don't understand why that's considered attractive. To me, it actually looks kind of weird, and depending on what facial expression I make, I get a little bit insecure about it because it looks kind of dumb to me. Like there's this, especially when you get like this part, this sort of shadow and this shadow, to me looks really odd, but apparently some people find that desirable. I don't know. I don't understand a lot of this stuff. I think it's partly because like I just don't understand attraction. For me, I know what normal looking is like, and I know what ugly is like. That's kind of like the 2 categories I put all of humanity into. You are either fine or ugly. I don't know what beautiful looks like. When I first got out of school and went to uni, I did a unit in psychology, and they showed, I think, some actor on the screen, and it was something to do with attractiveness and trustworthiness, and the idea is you're supposed to trust the people who look better, like there's some subconscious psychological thing there. And there was that CD-ROM we had to do, and so I had the CD-ROM and I did the test, and my test scores were a little bit all over the place because I didn't trust the pretty people so much, whereas like supposedly psychologically I'm supposed to. But I know I'm getting on a tangent, so let me get back to the questions here because I can see more coming in. Dude, can I get a dab? A dab. I think that's one of those like viral dance moves or something. I'm not entirely sure which one it is though, so yeah, I don't know. I've got like a cotton wool ball that I could like dab something, but in terms of which dance move you mean, I'm not 100%. Bowing after growling. Yeah. No, when I growl, people ask me questions. Um, we say e. Oh, air. Here, too, a lot. Where are you from? Where are you from that you say air? No, you're just here, that's it, haha. Have you tried the corpse paint? Corpse paint. I have painted my face for the odd performance, but only for like uni performances. If you dig deep into my old YouTube videos, you may find somewhere I wore full on face paint, but I don't think it was corpse paint. I think one time I did like a sort of skull look, which I was probably inspired by Bastille. Do you know, like they're not metal, they're more of a pop alternative. I don't know. They're the ones who did that Pompeii song, you know. How does that go? You know, it's like yeah. One of their music videos, they had that kind of skull paint, so I was probably inspired by that. So one performance I did with the skull face paint, and then there was another one where we did more electronic stuff. So, actually, I might have only painted across that way. I don't know. There's at least one performance I did with face paint, but I don't think it was corpse paint. Contouring, yeah. I think that's what it's called, contouring. So like, with the makeup thing, you put like, I think foundation or something that makes your face all like one color, and then because one color looks weird, then you have to put like the shading, which I guess is the contouring thing, to try and make you look natural again. And I'm like, that's a lot of effort to go through. I'm too lazy for makeup. The only makeup I usually do is like eyeliner, really dodgy eyeliner, and then to disguise like the inconsistencies, I get like some eyeshadow and just smudge it up so that it looks like I meant it, jazz. I totally meant it. It's meant to look messy. That's a good strategy for photos as well. If you're one of those people who's nervous about taking photos, if you try and intentionally make it look stupid, then when it comes out looking stupid, you can be like, yeah, but I meant it to be like that. So that's why, especially during the Rainbow Death Ray era, you will see me making that face a lot, where I'm like, dumb faces like that. So so that like it's meant to look stupid, it's meant to look over the top, because I don't know how to smile for photos. It's really difficult. I don't know how to pose. It's so hard for me to like, especially because I have that weird feeling about this. Sometimes that distracts me from knowing whether or not my photo looks good or not. But I'm trying to do the Instagram thing, and sometimes I just have to be like, look, people are going to think it's fine. You're the only one who's obsessing about these minor details, so just upload the damn thing. But I especially find it hard to smile when I've got lipstick on. Occasionally when I've done like proper modeling type photos, it's just like, because it tightens your lips, and it just doesn't feel natural anymore. And I'm like, what do I even do with my mouth anymore? Do I agree with you, or is this about the beauty thing? I think I've already mentioned that I don't understand beauty. I just know what good looking and not good looking is, or like I know what average looking is, and then I know what ugly is. Oh, are you talking to each other? Okay, that's fine. All right. So, well, I had like mini list of things to, my smile. Yeah, I don't know. I think it's a sort of thing where like you are the most critical person of yourself. So yeah. I don't know, I guess looking at my own photos, I'm sort of like, I don't know if that's what good looking is. I don't know if I'm looking right, or blah, blah, blah. But it's all in my head kind of thing. It's the same with some of my singing. With some of my singing, I get very self-conscious. Like, do I even sound good? I don't know. What do I sound like to someone outside my head? Because there are certain things that I used to think I sounded a particular way, and then someone would be like, oh, you sound like this. And I'm like, really? That's not what I had in my head. And just especially with your voice though, it's resonating in your skull, so the sound that you're getting is going to be different to what other people are hearing. And so that's why when you like, we used to record like on the phone, we had an answering machine back when that kind of stuff was relevant. And we used to record into that, and my voice would always sound different to what I thought I sounded like. And the first time you hear your voice recorded and played back to you is always super weird because it never sounds how you expect, and it takes a while to get through that. But even today, I think I don't entirely understand what I sound like to other people. Even when I play back a recording, I don't know exactly. Yeah, overthinking little bits, and yeah, it's tough. But you just have to kind of, I don't know, I think it helps to realize that people do perceive you in a different way to what you think. Yeah, so I've sort of gradually gotten over that. I think talking to YouTube's kind of helped me over the years, although actually the whole YouTube thing really helped me with shyness. Yeah, because I really struggled with talking, and now it's hard to shut me up, especially in certain contexts. But yeah, just getting used to seeing my face on the camera and also hearing my voice when I'm going back and editing stuff. Although, like, with editing this punk rave stuff, when I started editing the video, I was like yelling at myself because, you know, I'd say stuff. And the thing about the punk rave videos is because I've got a particular goal in mind, I feel like the way that I'm speaking is slightly different, and maybe not as natural as when I'm just riffing off, you know, the top of my head. So yeah, there are some bits where I'm saying something and I'm like, really, are you, do you, blah, 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 and like criticizing myself because, yeah, it's kind of weird to watch me in that context because I haven't made review videos like that in the past. So kind of a weird thing. But yeah, so, cool. What else? So I've covered school holidays being the reason that I haven't been able to make videos the past week, which is partly why I'm doing the live stream. I've covered, yeah, punk rave being what I've been doing most of the week, except for bonsai yesterday. So yeah, working yesterday. Yeah, pretty busy. And then that's why this morning I was just not functioning at all. Another thing I've been thinking about is like maybe offering myself as a growl coach. But I'm not sure yet. I've got so much stuff to think about. It's just an idea I came up with yesterday. Because every now and then people are like, why don't you teach something? And I'm like, yeah, but I know a little bit about a lot of things and I don't specialize in anything particularly mainstream. So like, what could I even teach? I don't think I would be a singing teacher because I don't have that expertise. You know, I'm still learning about regular clean singing. And there's things that I've only been able to do in the last year. I think I mentioned in maybe my video, the commentary version of my Kill Switch Engage video, like they're being able to sing in chest voice that high is something that I've figured out more recently. So in terms of singing, I don't think I could teach singing because, you know, I'm just not specialized enough in that. I haven't done enough learning in that. But when it comes to growling, because I'm so interested in it, I watch like so many tutorials. I also read about it and all that kind of stuff and, you know, experimenting myself. And I think I'm starting to get to that point where I probably could teach some of it. Like even the fry screaming, my fry I don't feel is that good, but I feel like I understand enough of the basics that I could probably coach someone, which is why I say vocal coach, growl coach rather than growl teacher, because, you know, I'd be coaching you rather than necessarily teaching you. I don't know if there's a distinction that I only make in my own head, but I feel like coaching makes more sense. I don't know. But I feel like I could get someone started on their journey with fry. Like when I'm talking about growl coaching, I'm talking like definitely beginner level. I don't think I could teach someone who already knows how to do this stuff. I don't think I could give them anything extra really. But one of the things, like, so we were listening to Lamb of God yesterday. Got any vids you're growling on? Oh yeah, so if you go and have a look at the Kill Switch Engage video, it should come up first thing on my you know, my channel page. I've made a playlist and it should be the very first thing, but if you just type Kill Switch Engage, the very beginning is like, you know, I do that sort of screamy thing, and then the verse is growl. If you watch the commentary video, I also explain the differences in my growling versus like the studio version, because I'm using a false chord growling, which is different to what the studio guy uses. He uses a fry scream to get his sound. So plus me being a chick and small changes my tone. But God, should we go into growl theory right now? I don't know. But we were listening to Lamb of God yesterday at work, and I think that might be the first time my teachers really heard much of Lamb of God. So he's like, "Oh, his growls, you know, interesting." And we're talking about the theory a bit, and yeah, I sort of told my boss, like, this is how you start with it, and then you bring the sound around here and all that kind of stuff. And it was kind of interesting seeing him tackle that as someone who's never tried any kind of growling before, and that's what started making me think I could probably teach someone at least the basics. And I'm constantly working on trying to get my growls and my screams and all that better. So, you know, as I learn, because I'm learning now and I'm learning, like, how do you explain this? Because I need to explain it to myself to figure out exactly what to do. And, like, I could probably pass on some of this stuff because there are some things I've worked out that I feel like, you know, the YouTube tutorials for growling are really, they're all over the place. It's hard to get good information. And, you know, I did like that channel, Rocky Music Studios, but they've rebranded and, you know, they reckon that YouTube took down their old channel. But I gotta say, they're not re-uploading things fast enough. They don't seem to know what people want. And I'm starting to get a bit cynical. Like, are they intentionally slowing down the rebuild of their channel because they want to sell more, like, online lessons? They don't want to put too much information out there anymore? I don't know. I'm just, like, frustrated because some of the tutorials that I really love that I wanted to share with people, I can't share because they're not online anymore. So yeah, I don't know. If they have the videos, why are they not uploading them? They're just putting up testimonials and all this other garbage. And anyway, but so they were one of the better channels for teaching stuff. But there's a lot of garbage out there, and they just, yeah. But because I'm figuring out what works for me as someone who hasn't done a lot of fry screaming in the past, like, I'm sort of learning it from scratch and figuring out, oh, okay, that's the difference between this and this. I feel like I could maybe help some people, but I also would need to set up a lot of stuff because with fry screaming, yeah, so one of the big differences between fry screaming and false chord growling, how would I teach Skype? No, I'm thinking about doing in-person lessons. Just because, like, you know, there are growl teachers online that you can hit up who are going to be better than me. So, like, you could go to Rocky Music Studios if you wanted to. I didn't like their terms and conditions, which is one of the reasons I ended up not trying it. But there's also Voice Hacks, Mary Z. She does lessons, and she seems to know what she's doing. So if you want to get growl lessons through Skype, there are some people who I think that, I mean, depending on price, because I haven't even figured out how much I would want to charge, because I think to start off with, I wouldn't charge too much, just because, like, I've never taught this stuff before. Maybe I need to grab one of my friends as a guinea pig and be like, hey, I'm going to teach you to growl. But yeah, no, I'm thinking in-person lessons, partly because, like, I know people could get better online. Can I scream at you now? Well, so I make a distinction between screaming and growling. What I do, I consider growling because it's the false chord thing, right? I haven't really warmed up today, but so the false chord growl is generally the deeper sound. I don't know what it's going to sound like through this right now, but like, and then depending on how you change the shape of your mouth, you can make it seem a little bit higher. I don't know how much distinction comes through, so I should have warmed up, hey. It changes the tone a little bit, but the problem with false chord growling is it takes a lot of air, and I should really be standing up for it. Whereas the fry screaming, because with fry screaming, so I feel like I would have to really get deep into the growling versus screaming false chord versus fry kind of thing. I mean, you can growl and scream in either, but it seems to me that false chord, which I do, is better for growling, whereas fry, which I'm learning, is the higher one that's better for you know, screaming kind of thing. So that's the one where you're like, rah! And it starts off with the grudge noise is how they explain it, but there's like different things that you need to there's different things that you need to do with it, and I haven't figured it out, and I'm better at doing it when I first roll out of bed. Once I've warmed up, and I did start warming up today, but once I've warmed up more, and like I've been talking for how long have I been talking? Almost an hour. So because I've been talking, my fry is not so good, but it's hard. I can't really do a demo, but most metal, I think, where you hear screamy, growly kinds of sounds, I think most of them use fry. growl, kind of growl. Try to fry scream. I don't know. That's tricky. Is that good enough for my false chord growling is so much better than my fry screaming, but I'm getting there. But I feel like I could at least teach the basics. Because to get that sound, like, you know, you start with the grudge noise, right? Oh, and then you got to make it bigger. But one of the things that a lot of the tutorials don't explain is like how you get that bigger sounds. They just go like, yeah, you go from this to this, and suddenly they're screaming, and you're like, yeah, but what did you do to get there? So I found like if I try and imagine it coming up to the back of my throat, but you do have to warm up, like you do have to know how to breathe and do all these other things, because if you just try and go for it, you might damage your voice. So if you guys are trying this right now, which I can imagine, if you guys are trying this right now, if it hurts at any point, stop. And also if you do it and then when you start talking, your voice sounds like it's you're struggling to make a clear vocal sound, stop, because you're probably doing it wrong. Be really careful with any of this growling stuff, okay? Yeah. But so I lost my train of thought. But yeah, false chord growling, fry screaming, if I can get the sound again. Wow. It's okay, just like you can do maybe like 5 to 10 minutes a day and you'll be okay if you just make sure you stop, drink a lot of water, room temperature water, or I find like slightly warm water sometimes good, but if you go too hot you'll just burn your mouth, so be careful with that. But yeah, just like be really careful when you're trying this stuff, okay? You really, if you're gonna learn screaming and growling, you need to learn how to breathe first as the very basic. You should also try and do a little bit of regular singing and get that going, because that'll just give you a good foundation for your vocals. But then, yeah, those are the two main methods. You can also just put grit on your clean voice. So how do I demonstrate that? Like if you're doing la, you can... but you have to be careful with that, because sometimes I do that a bit wrong. But you can put grit on your clean voice, which is different to the screaming. The screaming ones shouldn't really have your voice in it. And then you can do the grit thing. And the grit, I feel like, is moving some of the soft tissues around the top of your mouth, or like sort of towards the back. That's another way to do things. So maybe there's 3 main ways to get dirty vocals, but there's like growl, screaming, and gritting up your regular voice. But yeah, no, I would teach in person, I think, because like, I mean, I could make tutorials online, but there's already so many tutorials out there, and I'm just gonna add to the noise, really. Yeah, I like, if you wanted to find some tutorials, I'm actually considering making a playlist of some of the better ones, so that when people ask me, how do you do what you do, or how do I learn to scream, I can just send them the playlist. The one that helped me the most was Angela Gosso's one, where she, about 8.5 minutes in, she tells the guy to pretend he's a big dog. For me, that really helped me learn to growl, because I like dogs, whereas all these other guys are trying to tell you to imagine different things, and I'm just like, that doesn't work for me. Or the other thing they do is they'll tell you about the anatomy of your vocal cords. So like false chord growling is not actually using your vocal cords, it's the folds above that. You're vibrating them with air, whereas fry, you're getting your vocal folds and keeping them really close together, and just letting a little bit of air escape. And I'm like, okay, cool, but what does that feel like? Like, how do I turn this knowledge into a growl or a scream? Do you know what I mean? Like, they tell you all this theory, and you're just like, I don't understand. So when Angela Gosso comes along and tells this guy, basically, you're a big dog, I'm like, I love dogs! You know? You got your yappy dogs. I don't say that. And then you get your big dog, so you come down. So that's kind of how I learned to growl, is just pretending to be a dog. Oh, I just scare someone off. I just saw like I saw the number of people watching went up to 3, and then I start woofing and woo, and they ran away. I think that's great fun. But yeah, that's how I learned. And then she's got this exercise where you're doing star jumps while you're growling. Yeah, guys, it's just me. Hope, Molly. Yeah, no. So the star jumps are good for getting your diaphragm into the right configuration because you need to have that air, that breath support, especially for false chord growling because it is such a loud method. Yeah. Whereas fry screaming is it's quieter. And that's why sometimes I get off stage and people will be like, oh, I love how you do like the real growling and you're not like faking this or anything and blah, 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 blah. And that's because false chord growling, which I do, is very loud and it's very like real feeling. Like you can feel that, and it takes a lot of breath, so you feel like you're exerting yourself more to get that growl. You are not stressing your vocal cords. That's very important. But to get the sound to vibrate the other tissues to make that sound, you are putting a lot of your body into it. Whereas with the fry screaming, some people see that more as a vocal trick because you're not very, well, the experts at it can get some volume, but when you're starting out, especially, you know, you're like me with the little tiny little, my vocal fry is really bad. You know, you start with that tiny voice and, yeah, so some people don't, like, you know, some of the, I don't know, some audience members I've had, they don't like that sound. They prefer the way that I do it. But the advantage to vocal fry, I feel like there's more flexibility for certain things. And also you can do really long notes. So for me, my false chord, I'm sitting down and I haven't warmed up, but if I try and do a long false chord growl, what's the longest I can do? And then I run out of air. Whereas if I do my shitty vocal fry, try and get the sound and then just go with it. It's basically as long as you can hold your breath. So, oh, I didn't even get the sound right to begin with. Okay, maybe I should stop. Can just imagine what anyone like just tuning in would be thinking. But yeah, so the vocal fry sound, you can get much longer notes. So when you hear a vocalist go for an epic long scream, chances are that that's the method that they're using. Whereas the method that I tend to use, like I would not use my fry on stage at this point because I don't have enough mastery. I mean, as you can see, it takes me a while to get the sound. Still working on consistency. Like even with that long note, it took a while for the note to sort of settle into a smoother like sound, and you know, you can hear little wobbles here and there, and also like it did feel like it stresses my throat out a little bit. Speaking of, I should actually get some water because, you know, I'm telling you guys, oh, where did I put my water? There it is. I'm telling you guys to keep thinking of, what? Hang on, what was that? What the hell kind of ASMR is this? I should probably just make an ASMR video to troll people one day. Anyway, yeah, no, that fry, I don't have mastery over it. And then the other thing, because it's quieter, especially for me, I think on the camera, they probably sound like they're closer in volume, but I think that's because this camera, this phone, it tends to reduce the loud notes. So it maybe gives the illusion that the volumes are roughly the same. But I feel like if I got on stage and did that kind of fry scream, you know, my voice is already dynamic as it is, so you need a compressor on me. Hope! Hope! Hope, shut up! Come here! Or don't, you know, it's completely up to you. Hey? No, he's gone off somewhere else. Yeah, so, oh gosh, actually, I don't know how much you guys know about live music, but, so with vocals, you can do, like, quiet notes and you can do loud notes, and, when you're on stage, like, you know, especially when you're in a heavy metal band where everything else is super loud, to make it so that your voice can kind of be heard, I mean, it depends on the sound engineer, they're not all great, and it depends on the environment and so many other factors, but even in the studio, right, to, like, if someone's singing a really quiet sort of, sort of thing, to be able to be heard above the instruments, they'll use a compressor, which makes the loud notes softer and the soft notes louder, as like a simplification. So when you're playing live, often they'll have that on your vocals as well. And I know for me, with my low notes in clean singing, that can be quite quiet, whereas when I go for a higher note, which is more comfortable for me in terms of pitch, I tend to be louder. And then my growls, my false chord growls are quite loud, but I worry that my fry screams are quite soft. And there are a few bands. Oh my God, dog. Uh-oh, someone's home. Give me a sec and I'll see who it is. Doing a video online, so you don't want to be in it. Are you coming in, Miley? Okay, so, yeah, I might have to go soon, but Mum just came back and I'm like, hey, I'm doing a video, just don't come here if you don't want to be online. But no, so if we can wrap up about fry screams, fry screams, especially when you're at my level with fry screaming and you're not very good at it and it still sounds really quiet, that can be difficult with the whole compressor thing. So especially if you've got an engineer who doesn't realize what you're doing with your voice, that can be difficult. So there is a band I follow on Facebook. They're called Rave and she sings. If you watch some of the live videos, I don't know if that's still the case. I think in some of the older videos, it's more evident. But so when she's singing, you can hear her clearly. But then in some of those videos, when she switches to her fry scream, suddenly the screams are not quite as loud. And I think that's partly because of the nature between the two different sounds. I really like the concept of Rave and Black, but that's just something I've noticed about the vocals. On the record, it sounds fine because it's easier to adjust those things. But live, sometimes it's difficult because if you have a compressor in a live situation, making the soft noises louder, one of the things that can happen is feedback. This is especially true if you're cupping the mic, which is cupping the mic, where you put your hands around that and you've only got that little bit there, which I think I'm starting to realize, like I did a demo in one of my, I think the microphone choice video, but because I use false chord growling, it didn't make much difference because that's just so loud already. But I think with fry screamers, maybe that's more of a thing because I mean, I don't know if you guys noticed, the tone of my fry scream was lighter. There's less of that deep kind of thing going in. So I think to get some more of that bass and that sort of raw sound, they try and do that to like get more of that going on. What was I bringing up that for? Free feedback. That causes feedback because it turns your directional microphone into an omni microphone, which picks up from all sides. Instead of just from your face, it's picking up the entire band behind you. And yeah, that's not ideal, so you get feedback from that. But also with compressors, I mean, if you take if you're making really quiet noises into the microphone and then you try and boost that, not only are, like, even with a directional microphone, if you're holding it correctly, not only are you picking up the small amount of sound coming from your mouth, but you're also going to pick up small amounts of other sound coming from everywhere else. And yeah, that can turn into feedback as well. So fry screaming on stage, especially if you're really quiet, can be difficult in that sense. And that's why maybe sometimes the sound engineer can't turn you up any louder because you might get more feedback that way. But I don't know for sure because I've never had to mix someone like that. Like when I was doing live sound, I never had to deal with any screamers. And then also because I false chord growl, it's never been an issue for me. I don't need to cut the mic or anything. I just growl into it. I didn't even realize some of this stuff for a while. You know, when I was doing my EP, my asexuality EP, and performing that, I actually asked the sound engineer, hey, so I'm going to do some growling. Do you want me to back off the microphone when I'm doing that, or should I just stay right on it? And she told me to stay right on it. And I think that's partly because she might have been thinking that I might fry scream, in which case, you know, you need to stay on the microphone because it's not loud enough. But yeah, my growl is quite loud, so it just kind of like blasts into that. But yeah, so I don't know 100% if what I'm saying is true or if I'm just bullshit theorizing, but Yeah, I think that some of the problems with fry screaming has to do with it being quiet in most vocalists. It's hard to tell because a lot of those vocalists who use fry scream won't do it without a microphone. Like I've seen interviews. Who was I watching? I think I saw an interview with like Butcher Babies and also Alyssa from Arch Enemy. I'm not entirely sure what her screaming method is, but the one thing, like, in these interviews, sometimes the interviewers would be like, "Can you do a scream for us now?" And they won't do it. And it might possibly be because their method works best on a microphone. Whereas, like, when people ask me to do it just out on the street, or like, I came off stage one day. This is like during Rainbow Death Ray times, and someone's like, are you using a pedal for your vocals to get that growl? And I'm like, no, I'm just doing this. And so I did it right for them right there. And with false chord growling, I think it sounds more convincing without a microphone if you're just comparing the two. So yeah, there's all these things about growling that I didn't realize for a long time. But in the past year or so, I've been researching more, and yeah, it's interesting the differences between the two. You do get some people who will put down one method or the other, but whatever works for you to make your sound, why not? And I think for me, I'm trying to do both because it's better to have more flexibility, I think, to do different things, because there are some things, I love my false chord growl sound, but there are some things that I struggle to do. Some sounds I struggle to make, and I feel like if I learn also the fry screaming, that just gives me more different things that I can do. And it's kind of fun and interesting to try different things. And how did I get onto this topic? I don't know. I sort of tried to do a bit of, what is it? What do they call it? Throat singing. But yeah, and I can get some of those little overtones in the way you shape your mouth, but I don't know that I'd ever use that for anything. Anyway, I think I was talking about why I wouldn't use fry scream live yet. I think I need to get better at it, and more consistent. I probably also need to do a setup with a microphone just so I can hear what it sounds like with the microphone setup. But yeah, was there anything else? But yeah, no, growl coaching, I think the question was like, would I do it online? And yeah, I was telling you about how there are better people to go to online. No, I'd probably teach in person. One of the things is in Sydney, I don't know that there's anyone who teaches growling. There was this guy in Sydenham that I went to one time, but he was terrible. He's one of those guys with a huge vegan tattoo on his arm or something, and his whole idea about how to scream was just to get angry and just go for it, which is actually quite unsafe. And then even with regular singing, he was trying to get me to do a scale, and he's like, okay, we'll do a major scale, gets the guitar out, and he played a minor scale, and I'm like, that's not a major scale. So I had to actually coach him through a major scale, and it was just like, what? And then he'd tell me, yeah, growling, back in the day, I think people just went for it, but these days, they've actually, they stick a tube down people's throat to see what's going on, and there's a lot more, people have started to come together and pool knowledge about how you do these different things. And there's also some interesting applications for people who've lost their voice, like their regular voice. I think with false chord growling, maybe the way that you use, that you do false chord growling, there's some theory that it's similar to how babies do some vocalizing. And if you've lost the main part of your voice, you may still be able to speak if you use a false chord technique. I didn't read a whole lot about that, but there are some people theorizing about how we might use growling technique for other applications. So from a science perspective, it's really interesting, and that's probably why I'm getting so into it, because yeah, there's all kinds of things you can do with your voice and all different parts of your anatomy that you can use for it. Yeah, anyway, so this vegan guy, he was telling me about how one day he was telling me how proud he was that he bashed up some dude who was not being nice to a dog or something, and I'm like, just call the cops if you see someone abusing an animal. Like, why can't you just call the cops? Why do you have to go and bash someone? I don't know. He was a nut. He couldn't teach me how to scream because he didn't know anything about theory, and he didn't even know how to play a major scale, or like the difference between a major scale and a minor scale. It was just awful. So, oh my god, that was a loud motorbike. But yeah, so there's not really, as far as I know, there's no one in Sydney who really teaches growling. I put out a call on my Facebook a while ago and nothing came back. Only regular singing teachers. And the lady that the girl that I sometimes go to for clean singing, I haven't been in a couple of years, but she's really cool and I should go back at some point. I just don't have a whole lot of money. Money is the big problem, isn't it? That's why I need a job. But if I teach growling, maybe I could make a little bit of money on the side. But yeah, so I would probably teach in person because I feel like Sydney doesn't have anyone teaching growling, and I think I've probably got more of a sort of practical combined with theoretical basis to be able to help someone start from scratch. So that's why I would only teach beginner, because I don't think I know enough to improve someone's growl. But if someone's struggling to get the basic sounds and struggling with things about like breathing and, you know, more of those basics, those fundamentals, and then once they have the fundamentals and have the beginnings of the sound, you know, they can experiment and practice and just get better. I don't know at what point I would be able to help someone with that, but the more I think about it, the more I think, wow, there's all this stuff that, like, I can send tutorials to people until, like, I run out of them. I can send them, like, I can type up the theory and send that to them, but the fact is, like, a lot of people, they don't want to watch, they don't have the time to watch those things, they don't, you know, they're busy doing other stuff, or they don't want to read. There's so many people who don't want to read, especially musicians, but that's another topic. Oh dear. So there's that side of things, is like, if people are actually coming for a lesson, they're going to just pay attention to that, whereas if I send them a tutorial, they may not be paying attention, kind of thing. So there's that aspect. And then also, when people are first making the sounds, like, you know, my boss at Bonsai yesterday, I could hear straight away that he was doing something that he shouldn't be doing. And I'm like, no, you've got to take your voice out of it and do it this way. And I think he sort of started to get that. And I think for some people, you know, they can watch all these tutorials, but it's not necessarily going to help them know if they're doing it right and like what sound they're supposed to have. So that's part of the reason why I'm thinking like in-person growl coaching. I mean, I suppose I could do online, but as I said, there are people who are better at it than me. And then also, like, I don't know, like, I would have to use my phone to do it. I don't have the best technology set up. So, yeah, and then the fact that Sydney doesn't have anyone who teaches growling is sort of like a business niche that's maybe thinking more about the business side of things. But there are other things to think about, because I've got ideas like, if someone knows nothing about growling, how do I start them off with that? I've got to teach them how to breathe as a fundamental. I've got to teach them safety things, like I was telling you guys, drink water, a lot of water. You know, teach them about the fact that if they experience any pain or loss of voice, they need to stop and try something different later after they've had a break. You know, vocal hygiene type stuff, which is the same as, most of it's the same as regular vocal, you know, clean singing kinds of stuff. But, you know, I'd have to do all those basics. And then I'm thinking like, okay, if they send me, like, you know, a band that they want to sound like, then I have to explain to them the difference between false chord growling and fry screaming, and, you know, which one do they want to do, the benefits and, you know, pros and cons, like what they're, because, you know, false chord growling sounds great, but you use so much air that you can't do the long notes. Fry screaming you can do for ages, but it's quite quiet, so if that's important to you, you know, there's all these different things to think about. And then I gotta think about, like, what would I teach them first? So there's all this kind of stuff of, like, how do you teach someone the growling thing? You know, and whether or not I need to, like, interview them first to be like, so what kind of thing do you want to do and what do you already know? Because if someone's already had some vocal coaching, that's easier, because then I can be like, you know, diaphragm this, blah, blah, blah. But if they've got no experience, which I wouldn't recommend, you shouldn't go straight into growling from zero experience, but, you know, some people might want that. Then I've got to think, well, I've got to teach this person fundamentals, you know, that. And then, I think I was starting to say this before, if they want to learn the fry screaming, that's where I've got to figure out a setup where I can have an actual microphone. Because if I'm going to teach false chord, that sounds like a growl without any technology, you know, kind of stuff. But if I'm trying to teach fry screaming, and especially with my fry sounding crap, and their fry's probably going to sound the same level of crap when they start out, but once you get on a microphone, maybe not so crap. So, like, you know, get them started with that, I probably do need a microphone so they can actually hear themselves and what they're actually sounding like and all that. And then speaking of microphones, teaching how to hold a microphone. You should watch that Spectre Sound Studios video. Don't cup the mic kind of thing. And then also like, see, one of the things I've been looking up why people cup the mic, and the original idea is maybe they think it gives them a lower or scarier sound. You know, some people think they're focusing the sound into the microphone, but I came across this other theory where maybe the vocalists can't hear themselves very well because fry screaming is quite quiet, and if you don't have good foldback, foldback is when you're on stage, they play the sounds back to you, and you can ask for different levels, like depending on the size of the stage. If you've got your own foldback, you could say, can I have more drums in my foldback? And the sound guy will fix that for you. But if you can't hear your vocals, like I used to have this problem a lot when I was doing violin, because especially my old violin had feedback problems because of the way that it's set up. So whereas my current violin, it's got a different style of pickup, which means it doesn't get feedback. It's a little bit more like a guitar style of pickup. I don't know, it's got a pendulum thing. Classical violinists didn't like it, but I like it. It works really well for metal. But yeah, back with the old violin, I often couldn't hear myself, so I had to sometimes put stickers on my violin to make sure I was playing the right notes, which is not a good way because, you know, you need to hear yourself with violin. But in a pinch, the stickers helped me make sure I was hitting the right notes instead of like me trying to find it by ear. So with the guys who cup the mic, one of the things that they might be struggling with is hearing themselves. And so sometimes when I'm practicing my singing, depending on how loud I have the tracks playing, I will actually do this to reflect the sound back at me. Ah! It does, I mean, if you do that, hey, you will hear that the sound bounces back to you in a different way, and it can help a little bit with your perception of your own sound. But so some vocalists who cup the mic may be doing that to try and hear themselves better. But what works even better than that is just blocking your ears, because when you block your ears, instead of hearing all the sound around you, if you try this, right, you are hearing more of the vibrations in your own skull, and you know, it's harder to hear anything else around you, but you can hear more of yourself. So if your band is loud, but you can't hear yourself, and you do this, I've found that this works really well in terms of hearing myself. So I tend to ask for more of the backing track or the other instruments in my foldback and less of me, because I always wear earplugs when I'm on stage, which gives you this effect. And you should wear earplugs when you're making music, loud music. You should wear earplugs to preserve your hearing, because if you want to be a musician, you do not want your hearing to suffer. So I have this huge box of Class 5 industrial earplugs. They're black as well, which is cool. And I will wear them to every gig and also on stage. And I think that helps me hear myself and my singing without having to cut the mic like some of these guys. Because when you're doing like this, you don't get nearly the amount of sound reflected to your ears compared to if you just blocked your ears. But it does take some getting used to sing like this. So I even did rehearsals with my earplugs in, and I think that's how I got used to singing with the earplugs. So there's stuff like that that I could teach people about, you know, being on stage, those kinds of more practical things, because there are a lot of vocalists, there are a lot of heavy metal people who don't use earplugs. And at uni, I got a friend and her band into the studio to record, and she's one of these chicks who, she was the door person at Venom nightclub for a long time, been around music for ages, and with the headphones, we had to send headphones to them. I think both the guitarists, we had them in separate rooms, and they're both, oh crap, there's a whole bunch of, okay, I'll just finish this thought. I also just need to quickly blow my nose, so just hang on, I'll finish this thought. If you don't wear earplugs, what happened with her, so there's one guitarist in one room and she's the other guitarist in the other room, and we're sending them their headphone sends so that they can hear the rest of the band that they're supposed to play with. And she kept asking for hers to be turned up, and I think it's because after so much time in the metal scene without wearing earplugs, it just affected her hearing, and you don't want to lose your hearing. Hey Marley. If you're a musician, like, you know, you need to, it's very difficult to make music if you can't really hear what you're doing. So yeah, and then once we'd adjusted it and she could hear everything fine, in the control room, we played the first guy's headphone send and compared it next to hers, and hers was so damn loud. We were just like, oh my god. So if you're making heavy metal, always wear earplugs. Unless like you're playing unplugged and acoustically, but like, you know, once you have the drums and the amps, you need earplugs just to save your hearing if you want to have a long music career. I'm just going to quickly blow my nose and then I'll check the other comments and then maybe have to wrap it up after that. Give me a sec. Oh man, I'm so tired. I've been sniffling all day, and it's just because I'm allergic to life. Like every morning, sneezing and whatever. But let's look. So, oh hello, porcelain poetry. You could do an educational type video, pros and cons, different types of growling. Yeah. I mean, I suppose I could do some introductory growl videos, but the thing is, there's so much already out there that I don't know if my version is going to be the best way to understand it, but I suppose if there was enough demand, maybe. But before I get to that, I think I just need to sit down and think about what steps I would take someone through in order to teach them the growling. So at some point maybe, but you know, my list of videos to make is so long now. Oh my god. It's just like, I've got so many things on the list. Like I've also got my Tokyo shopping guide I want to tell you guys about. Oh, Catherine. Good morning, Catherine. It's afternoon here, but yeah. I'm not really a morning person anyway. But yeah, no. My Gothic Tokyo shopping guide is on Patreon for those of you who have signed up to that. Oh, the UK, yeah. Well, it would be the morning. Yeah, no. I know this time of day is not great for most people because, like, even Australians, most of them are at work or in uni or whatever, and I'm just sort of sitting on my bum in the middle of the day. I know it's early in the morning in Europe, and I think it's quite late in America. I don't know. I looked it up one day, and I can't remember exactly what time it is everywhere. Wow, 7 a.m. I am not functional at 7 a.m. Yeah, no. My Gothic Tokyo shopping guide, which took me a year to finally finish writing, if you're on my... Oh, you have kids? Yeah, okay, I understand. I'm not a kids person, puppies only. Yeah, if you're on my Patreon, and you should be able to look... I think I released it in January. So if you're going to Japan and you're trying to organize a trip to buy some Gothic clothing, you know, that's there, but I've been meaning to convert it into a written blog, just like in some pieces. Yeah, so I think I'll post it as written blogs on my website at some point, but I was also thinking of doing some video blogs about how to do a good Gothic shopping trip in Japan, and maybe show you some of the stuff that I bought last year. Because, you know, now that I'm doing the punk rave videos, I feel like, you know, I'm supposed to be a fashion person right now, hey? Maybe I should show you some of the other stuff that I hardly ever wear because I'm bad at being a fashion person. I mean, look at me today with just, like, generic t-shirt and, what, these are, like, dance pants or something? No makeup, all that kind of stuff, but, yeah, hey. Yeah, so I've got to get that, at least get the written blog down, and then there's a whole bunch of other stuff I want to update online. I've got such a huge list of things that I'm supposed to do, and it's hilarious, like, I only work, you know, once or twice, or maybe 3 times a month, hardly any, and yet I cannot get all these things done. It's kind of embarrassing, but, you know, keep trying, and I also want to do more videos. So someone was asking me on Tumblr, I think, about covering other songs, and I'm actually planning to do some Disturbed because there's even older videos, like with the Kill Switch song. I had done that 5 years ago, so it was kind of an update, and I feel like I should update some of like my 10-year-old videos. Wow, I'm too scared to watch them right now. I know they exist, but yeah, at some point I'll do an update video to show you my vocal progress since way back. So that's mostly Disturbed. And then, yeah, still working on this punk rave, which hopefully I'll finish the main part of it today. but there's some other stuff I need to do before I upload it, and I've also got to get the Instagram photo version all sorted and ready to go, and yeah, there's so much to do. Anyway, I'm feeling a bit more awake now, so I think I should get back to editing actually, and you know, Mum's home and Mikey will be home really soon, so yeah, I should go. I'm even getting a reflection from the neighbors. There's this sun coming through now. It's a little bit weird. Yeah, so I think I should probably wrap this up and go, and I probably need a pee because I've just been drinking tea and a bunch of water and been sitting here for an hour and a half. But if you're going to learn growling, drink a lot of water. If one of my super fans later, who usually does it, Paper Vampire or District Zombie, if you are watching, can you put down like what times I talk different things again? Maybe, so if people want to come through and just see a little bit, they can go into the thing and click wherever. But yeah, no, so video because I haven't been able to do much this week. Any last questions before I run off? Hey, I'm glad you enjoyed it. Yeah, streaming's good for when I can't, you know, make a regular video. Yeah, because it's been one of those weeks. I'm finally sort of recovering. Whoop, I'm covering my light up. Finally sort of recovering from working yesterday because I'm so unfit and I really need to get onto exercise as well. Oh my god, my to-do list is pretty huge. There's like the regular to-do list, oh, general things to remember, and then I've got another one about like some of the videos to make, and then I've got I've got a whole folder full of video ideas people have sent me or things that I've thought of, and it's just too much. But yeah. Alright, I think I'll go, just check I didn't miss any messages. Nope, we're all good. Alright, thanks guys. I'll try and give some warning next time I stream, but yeah, I kind of just do this when the house is empty and it's like a chance. So have a nice day, whatever time it is, wherever you are, and I guess I'll see you. Probably the next video that goes up will be Punk Rave, but as I said, because I don't know whether or not they'll be looking at social media and stuff over the Easter holidays, it might not be out till Tuesday, I guess. But we'll see. And yeah, I think that's all for now. Did someone just arrive? Hello. If you've got any quick questions, I can maybe take one more. But otherwise, I'm gonna go. I don't know how long the delay is between me saying things and the chat's coming through. No. No, nothing else? Okay. I might go then, so sorry to last person turning up if you had a question, but I really need to go and... Okay, bye-bye. Oh, wait, hey. Oh, it's you again. Oh, yeah, Storm, that was Rainbow Death Ray. Hey, yeah. That one took a while to write, but that's probably another story for another day, really. All that kind of old band stuff. Yeah, no, Storm's fun, because I used to go around with the bubble gun, which is fun at a metal show. Anyway, yeah, no, see you later, guys, and yeah, hope everything's good. I'll see you next time, whenever that is. Uh-oh, how do I stop it again?